Hey, this is Don Allen, Fishing Guide. One of the things that I notice that when clients come aboard, they're asking how I put on spinning reel, new line on spinning reels. And it's very interesting because if you go to YouTube, you will find somebody that says, oh, you need to take it off of the bottom of the spool or the top of the spool, and you need to put it on that way. And that's not really the case. I'm going to show you a little tip on how to apply spinning reels, line on spinning reels, easy. And quite often people will put line on their spinning reel here, and it will, when they think they get enough, they will put it down and they'll open it and it'll all spring off. Well, that's a problem. So what happens is that when this line is manufactured, it's put on a spool, and it's put on a spool pretty warm. So it really accepts the memory of this spool. So that's what, when that line jumps off of your spinning reel, that's what that line is doing. It remembers where it was born, and it was born on this spinning reel, on this line spool, and it has that memory. So when you go ahead and put new line on your reel, it will have that memory of that spool. So you're transferring the memory of that spool onto this spool, which is considerably smaller. So it's going to jump off. So one of the best ways is to, you're always taught to put new line on, and it's good, and because you want new line, it's easier, you lose less fish and all that kind of stuff. So it's very good to put new line on. Now, speaking of line, we have fluorocarbon. I don't have any mono to speak, and then we have braid. So when you're putting new line on, what I would do is make a cast with your rod and reel, and then pull out about 5 to 10 pulls so that you have it, and then cut it. And so when you cut it, you're going to tie new line on whatever that line is of your preference. Generally, I always use an Alberto knot to attach all this line that remains on the spool. I'm only replacing the line that I use because if you want to take all this line off, it's just too cost prohibitive. So when you see braid, you will see this diameter, 8-pound diameter, or this one, this is a little faded, this is 10-pound diameter. So that means that it's 10 pounds diameter, which is the same as 10-pound diameter monofilament and fluorocarbon. So when you're tying your Alberto knot, you want to make sure that those two line diameters are preferably the same. But you can actually get away with 2-pound difference. So if this is 10-pound, you can attach 12-pound to it, or 8-pound test, and it will hold. That knot will hold handsomely. So what we want to do is make that cast and pull out about 10, and we want to cut it. And then we're going to apply the Alberto knot, and then we're going to put new line on the reel. So when you put new line on the reel, most reels will have this little, see how this reel slopes up right there on the edge? And then at the edge where it is not sloping up, that is full. And you want your reel, your spinning reel, to be full. There's a couple advantages to having your line full. One is drag. Drag does not perform admirably if it's farther back into the spools, down into that spool. So a full spool with fresh line is what we're looking for. And then as soon as you get to that, whether you're tying braid or you're just using straight mono, then you're ready to fish. The second reason you want your spool full is retrieve rate. They all have retrieve rate, and some guys buy, some people buy the reels basically for the retrieve rate. The big rage for the past several years is always high speed ratio, and so that high speed ratio retrieve is not achieved unless your line is unless your spool is full. Okay, so you cut your line. Okay, so if you're using, and you're going to tie on new line, if you're using braid, use an Alberto knot. If you're using just new monofilament or new fluorocarbon, then you just tie a blood knot. And I'll leave that up to you to search those knots on how to tie them, because they're very simple and they're very effective. So what happens if I'm just using straight mono or straight fluorocarbon to my underneath knot, I'm going to show you the friend of all fishermen right there. This is electrical tape, okay? And it is worth its weight in gold. So what you do is you pull out a little teeny section and you cut it. And I mean little, just enough to cover that knot, just enough to cover that knot. And you place that tape over that, and then you wind your line over this little deal, and it would fit just like that, right over that knot. It'll fit just like that. Now this would have to be cut, and you would put it over your knot. That will always tell you where the old line is. So if you get to a situation where you've used the line, or the line's becoming unruly, or just whatever, and it's just becoming a problem, you need to put new fresh line, you automatically know where that old line starts and the new line begins. So then you could do another blood knot or another Alberto knot, and then you can put new line on. So the key, remember the memory here. When you get your line, your reel full right to that edge, you want to stop, and you want to take your reel in to any faucet really that has hot water. And you want you to turn it on hot water. Now hot water is generally about 100 to 104 depending on your tank or whatever it is, settings. And then, so what you want to do is you want to turn water on the spool. And as your water's coming on that out of that spigot, and it's hitting that spool, it will start to soak down in it. You can actually see it, and it works really good. So turn it over and put some water on this side, and then this takes like 30 seconds, okay, for that water to heat down in there. And what it's going to do is it heats that line just a little bit, and then you take it out and it cools, and it cools to the memory of the spool of your reel spool. So no more of that opening the bail and all that springing off. That simple trick of putting it under hot water and transferring the memory of this spool, this line spool, to this line spool is just a matter of a little warm hot water on your reel spool. And once that's done, then you can do anything without that thing, without that line springing off, because it has the memory of the spool. So you will always find somebody that says you need to take it off the top of the spool or the bottom of the spool. That's not necessary. I mean, you can literally transform your reels and get its high performance by transferring the memory from the spool to the reel. I hope this helps. Remember, electrical tape is your friend. It works really, really, really good in that situation, and you will always know where your old and new line begins. Okay, Don Allen here. Thanks for watching, and let me know how this tip works for you.